individuals, groups, and families. How they will enhance their social functioning? As a social worker, we will provide services to them, then they enhance their social functioning. And through a judicious or sensible use of leisure time, can prevent delinquency and crime in the society. Social work helps the individual in bringing in relation to the change in the environment in favor of his growth and development. Social work gives democratic thoughts and encourages the development of good interpersonal dealings, resulting in proper adjustment with the family and neighborhood. Social work gives democratic thoughts. There is no differentiation based on caste, creed, religion. Social work gives democratic thoughts and encourages the development of good interpersonal dealings. Yesterday we discussed group. Within the group members, we improve the interpersonal relationships who are the members in the group, resulting in proper adjustment with the family and neighborhood, in community and as well as in the family. Social work does not consider in social Darwinism. Social Darwinism says who is the fittest. It says survival of the fittest. No, social work does not consider social Darwinism. If fit one is survival, weak one is perish, says by social Darwinism. But social work does not consider in social Darwinism. It does not accept the principle of survival of the fittest. Hence, it works for social justice through legal aid. It also promotes social justice through the development of social policy. The goals and objectives lead social workers to enhance clients' sense of competence, link them with resources, and foster changes that make changes and social institutions more responsive to citizens' needs. These social work goals and objectives, it leads to social workers to enhance clients' sense of competence. If, for example, one individual suffering with psychological or behavioral problems, we will enhance clients' competence through counseling or behavioral modification and other ways. We will enhance the client's sense of competence, capacity, link them with resources, and foster changes that make organizations and social institutions more responsive to citizens' needs. And enhancing people's capacities to resolve problems, cope, and function effectively. How they will restore their previous position? We enhancing people's capacity to solve their problems. You will use casework method or group work method or community organization method or welfare administration method or social action method. And then function effectively. How they will work effectively once we enhancing people's capacity, then they can do their work. Then they can resolve their problems and functions effectively. Linking clients with needed resources. Yesterday we discussed in the community organization, where is the need and where is the resources. In social work, we find out the problems and we find the where is the needed resources. These two, we linking these two. Where is the problem and where is the solution? Here, linking clients with the needed resources, improving the social service delivery network, promoting social justice through the development of social policy. So, the ultimate goal of social work is the reduce suffering through solving people's troubles. Next, generic principles of social work. All of you, yeah, you listen carefully. The principles of social work is very important in social work education. You focus on these principles. Principles. What is principles? Principles are general statements of do's and don'ts to get best results while practicing social work. They are the guide posts for the professional to carry out the work in the field. A principle is a kind of rule or belief or idea that guides you. You put one principle. I will do like this. I will do like that. I wanted to this activity. Just you put one rule or belief or idea. The principle it will guides you. Thus, in simple words, principles are the basic ways in which something works. For example, when we say principles of population, what is meant by principles of population? We mean the basic way in which population works. Likewise, when we say principle of sociology, we mean the basic way in which sociology works. For example, principles of social work. So, the same way, the basic way in social work works. Similarly, when we say principles of social work, we mean the basic way in which social work works. How social work will works. There have been a variety of principles in social work. We will discuss these principles one by one. They mainly widely discussed generic principles of social work are as follows: principle of acceptance, principle of individualization, principle of communication, principle of self-determination, principle of confidentiality, principle of non-judgmental attitude, principle of controlled emotional involvement. Principle of acceptance. Acceptance is a fundamental principle of social work. That means a sincere understanding of clients. This principle holds that professional social worker accept the client as it is. For example, one individual suffering with alcohol addiction or drug addiction come to you for counseling. First, you accept the client as it is. Means you accept the drug addiction, drug addicted client or alcoholic addicted client. You accept the client as it is. If you won't accept that fellow, is that the client is drug addiction client. I'm not accepting the client. If you won't accept the client, how to understand is how to collect his information and how to understand his problem, how to solve his problem as a client. So, as a social worker, accept the client as it is, either drug addictor or alcoholic addictor or criminal or whoever the person come with his problem. As a social worker, we accept the client as it is. The client and social work professional should both accept each other for getting the best results. First, the social worker, professional social worker, and client should both accept each other for getting the best results. If social worker won't accept the client, is the criminal, I won't accept as a client. If you won't accept as a social worker, how you will guide and how you will solve his problem as a social worker. So both accept each other for getting the best results. The client should accept the worker because the worker is one who is helping the client to overcome his problem situation. In social work situations, the client may approach the social worker directly, or the social worker may be nominated by agency, or someone might have referred the client to the social worker. In social work situation, client may approach directly to the social worker or may be nominated by agency, some organization sent to you, or someone might have referred the client to the social worker. Known friend of the client referred to the referred the client to the particular social worker. The particular social worker is very efficient to solve your problem. Then you go to the particular social worker. He will solve your problem. So this suggestion by referred, someone might have referred the client. Social workers who accept clients treat them humanly and caringly and afford them dignity and worth. Similarly, the worker should also accept the client as a person with a problem, has come to him for help. In social work education, any client come to you with his own problem. Without any problem, he won't come to you. Client as a person with a problem has come to him for your help. Irrespective of the appearance and background of the client, the worker should accept the client as he is without any discrimination. In general, we observe separate treatment based on the status, based on religion, based on caste, creed, or place of birth. Some other places. But in social work education, client from rich background or client from poor background. As a social worker, we respect person as it is from rich or poor. We don't focus on his social background, irrespective of the appearance. If the client looking like very elite person, we accept immediately. And who is the person looking some layman? As a social worker, we don't deny the layman. So we respect either poor or rich, irrespective of the appearance and background of the client. For example, one client, highly educated client, come to you, and simultaneously another client, illiterate client, come to you. You respect each the same way. You don't discriminate based on his educational qualification. So here worker should accept the client as he is without any discrimination. Either race, if you respect only men, you respect only women. No, you respect both, all race, either woman or men. You respect all religion equal, irrespective of religion, irrespective of place. No, he is from my own place. I will give some special attention on client. No, you accept the client irrespective of background. Social workers convey acceptance by taking genuine concern, listening res- receptively, acknowledging others' point of view, and creating a climate of mutual respect. As a social worker, you accept the client. How you show your acceptance? As a social worker, we can show our acceptance by taking some genuine expressions, facial expressions, listening receptively. What is client saying? We are uh, listening carefully, receptively, acknowledging others' point of view also, and creating a climate of mutual respect between client and social worker. Sometimes the personal experience of the worker may come in the way of accepting the client. Sometimes as a social workers, our personal background also influence in the uh, come in the way of accepting the client. For example, professional social worker who has accused by his alcoholic father during his childhood may find it difficult to accept an alcoholic client who has come for help in restoring his family relationships. If you have any personal experience with your as a social worker, if you have any childhood experience of your alcoholic father, you may impact your father alcoholic behavioral problem. You don't deny the client. Why your personal feelings as a social worker, don't put your personal feelings and personal emotions on the clients. In this case, the social worker should not be influenced his childhood experience of being abused by his alcoholic father. When so when social worker was uh, childhood days, he was abused by his alcoholic father. If the social worker remembered his past experience, don't show his personal feelings and emotions on client. Whom he hated, whom he hated and rejected are indifference towards the client. Next principle of individualization. The principle of individualization means that every client is unique for the worker. As we know that the client is a person with a problem in his or her life. Client is a person with particular religious beliefs, economic positions, social status, and particular caste. What is individualization means that every client is unique for the worker. We cannot compare one client to the another client. The worker has to accept the client with all his or her strengths and weaknesses. Every client is not just an individual, but the individual. All people are unique and possess distinctive capabilities. When social workers declare clients' individuality. They recognize and appreciate their unique qualities and individual differences. They treat client as a person with rights and needs rather than as objects or cases or at another appointment. The social worker should always consider that each client is unique and distinct from other clients having a similar problem, as each person responds and reacts to the same stimuli differently and gets into or gets our out of different problem situations in different ways. Here you remember principle of individualization means that every client is unique for the worker, professional social worker. For example, child labor problem, we as a professional social worker, we find out child labor problem. If we will see the case studies of child labor, problem is only child labor, but why the children not going to school? Why they are working in the industry or hazardous conditions? Maybe the different reasons. All who are the um, children as a child labor due to the financial problem, family problems, they are not going to school. They are working in company or in hazardous industries. One more case, the children, there is no school in their locality, so that's why they are not going to school. They worked in their agriculture field. And one more reason, the client or child labor, because of their family problems, the student is not going to school. So the here child labor problem, we find out child labor problem. But each individual case is different, unique. Every client is unique. We cannot generalize all the clients is same. All the clients is are equal. Based on each client is unique. We cannot compare all clients are equal. Each client is unique here. Next principle of communication. In social work, the communication between the social worker and the client is very important. Now you are listening my class, you are attending my class. Communication between me and you, between me and you, like in social work, communication between the social worker and the client is very important. If there is no communication, what will happen? If there is no communication between clients and social worker, how the social worker will find out how to collect the information about the client and how to give suitable plan to solve the client's problem. So communication is very important between the social worker and client. The communication could be verbal, that is oral or written, or non-verbal, where gestures, signs, or actions are used to send the message. The communication, we know verbal. Now we are interacting with verbal communication. I am I'm speaking, I'm taking lecture. You are giving your reply by your verbal communication. that is oral or sometimes in written or in non-verbal, whereas gestures, signs, and actions also. Gestures means, symbols and signs. The social worker should have enough skills to grasp the verbal and non-verbal communication of the client. Communication is tested in social work relationship because the backgrounds of the client and the worker may be different. The mental state of the client and the worker may vary. Here, you remember communication is tested in social work relationship because the backgrounds of the client and the worker may be different. For example, social worker from English background is communicating very good communication in English. Client, who are the client suffering with the problem, is coming from very poor background. He doesn't know English. He can speak his local language. He can manage with little bit English. So here we can see the backgrounds of the client and social worker may be different. At this particular situation, social worker coming down to the client level in which language he can understand, the social worker interact or communicate with the client with his client's language or client's language by the verbal or non-verbal or written or signs or symbols, whatever the communication. So as a social worker, you come down and understand the client's real what is the real communication, and just you communicate with the client. The mental state of the client and the worker may vary. If client from behavioral problem or psychiatric problem, any other um, different mental state of the client and the worker may vary. Ultimately, there is a difference between client and worker's mental state. The client should be made to feel comfortable and it is to express his thoughts, feelings, and facts. The client should be made to feel comfortable and it is to express his thoughts, feelings, and facts. When client feel free to say about his problem with the social worker. When social worker creates some good communication with the client, then client will comfortable to say something about his problem with the social worker. Further, he should be assured that the worker understands correctly what he wants to convey. For these techniques, such as clarification and reclarifications, elaborating what the client has said, questioning and reframing of what the client has said can be effectively used. If there is miscommunication between client and social worker, then social worker clarification and reclarification, elaborating what client has said. If social worker have any doubts on client's problem, social worker again reclarification, clarifications and reclarification, elaborating what the client said about his problem, questioning and reframing of what the client has said. When good communication is there, then can be effectively used. Similarly, the worker has to make sure that the client understands correctly what he is conveying to him. For this, the worker may ask the client to repeat what he is saying. In this way, miscommunication between the worker and client can be reduced and make sure that the worker client relationship is well established and strengthened. If social worker not understand the client problem properly, worker may ask client again, repeat what he is saying. In this way, miscommunication between the worker and client can be reduced. If social worker was not listening properly what client says, then miscommunication will rise between worker and client. So that's why if there is any doubt on client's problem, then social worker ask the client repeat what he is saying. So here I am stopping. If you have any doubts regarding up to these three principles, if you have any doubts,
Hello, sir. Good morning, sir. Namaste.
yes, yes,
Sir, regarding to the principle of the, communication, let's say I am social worker uh, from the England language, that is English language. So let's say I have or I got a client who does not hearing any language. I mean, like doomed, a person who does not hearing. So, sir, how can I solve that his problem? So, is it should I get my skills, my idea in order to solve his problem, or there is some certain ways that should I be in order to solve his problems? Thank you.
you must understand the client's language and client's problem, either verbal or non-verbal communication. You interact with the client, either verbal communication or non-verbal communication. Otherwise, you take help from his family, client's family. Abu Bakr, Abu Bakr. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Yes, yes. Okay.
Hello, sir.
Okay. Yes, Jimba.
Yeah, you said three principles, right? According to your explanation, you explained about the principle of communication, the principle of individualization. I didn't get the other principles from what you said.
Please repeat your question.
Okay.
Hello.
So far you have mentioned three principles, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, there is a principle of communication and principle of individualization. So I didn't get
Yes.
the other principles. The principle, the third one you mentioned.
They said next I am
I
going
didn't.
to continue.
And
Hello.
when I get you, Chippy Liro, maybe she want you to differentiate between principle of communication and the principle of individualization. Maybe when I get her right about.
Okay. Principle of
No,
individualization.
no, that is not
No,
what she
sir.
said.
No, sir. I
Yes,
didn't
yes.
say you should differentiate. No. So I didn't get the other principle, but I see Joanna in the message you say receptance. So I forget that I miss up that you say receptance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Principle of acceptance.
Yes, Andrew.
Yes.
Yes, Andrew.
Yes, I wanted if it's possible for you to explain again on the principle of acceptance so that we understand.
Again.
So, so
Hello.
Yes, I was saying, can you explain again on the principle of acceptance?
Okay,
I
okay,
didn't understand. Yeah, please.
okay. Principle of acceptance. Acceptance is a fundamental principle of social work. That means a sincere understanding of the clients. If you interact with the client, first you accept the client as it is. If any client come to you with suffering with drug addiction or alcoholic addiction or criminal background client come to you for counseling. As a social worker, you accept you accept the client as it is. The client and social worker professional should both accept each other for getting the best results. If you won't accept the client, how you will solve his problem? So first you accept the client, irrespective of his background, irrespective of race, caste, creed, religion. If you avoid the client from addiction, how you will solve his problem? Have you know about his background? Have you understand his background and how to solve his problem? So first you, as a social worker, first you accept the client. Means who is the individual suffering with the problem. Clients means here who is the individual suffering with the problem. The client should accept the worker because the worker is the one who is helping the client to overcome his problem situation. In social work situation, the client may approach the social worker directly or may be nominated by agency, or someone might have referred the client to the social worker. The client come to you directly as a social worker or otherwise nominated by the agency, otherwise or client's friend referred to you. The social worker will give good will give good suggestions and solve your problem. So your your client referred by his friend. Social workers who accept clients treat them humanly and caringly and afford them dignity and worth. Similarly, the worker should also accept the client as a person with a problem who has come to him for help. Irrespective of the appearance, background of the client, the worker should accept the client as he is without any discrimination. If client from rich background or client from poor background, we respect both clients equally. Here we accept the client as it is. We don't see rich client and poor client. Client is client. We respect the individual, irrespective of the appearance and background of the client. If the person coming from highly educated, if the person coming from illiterate, if the person coming from highly background, political background, the person coming from without background, we treat all clients are equally accept. There is no separate treatment for rich people. There is no separate treatment for poor client. All are equal, irrespective of the appearance. If someone is looking some handsome, you give some separate treatment. No, there is no such stuff. There is no such type of facility in social work. So this is a principle of social work, principle of acceptance. You respect all the clients equally. Client accept as it is without any discrimination. You don't discriminate based on the race. You don't discriminate based on the region, based on the religion. You don't discriminate as a social worker. Social workers convey acceptance by taking genuine concern, listening receptively, acknowledging others' point of view, and creating a climate of mutual respect. For example, I am saying something with you. If you are listening carefully what I am saying, I know you are listening carefully or not. So, like in social work, social workers convey acceptance. If you are social workers, I am coming to you. You will show your acceptance by your genuine concern, like listening receptively what I am saying. I am suffering with some psychological problem. I am coming to you. You are the social worker. You listening receptively, listening carefully what I am saying. Exactly my problem, and acknowledging others' point of view. What I am saying, just you listen carefully, listening receptively, and creating a climate of mutual respect. For example, I am saying something, you are not listening, you are doing something your own way. That is not correct. So here, social worker creating a climate of mutual respect between client and social worker. Sometimes the personal experience of the worker may come in the way of accepting the client. For example, client from alcoholic addiction, client come to the social worker who was abused by his alcoholic father during his childhood may find it difficult to accept an alcoholic client. For example, you are the social worker. You have one experience with your father alcoholic uh, uh, during your father was alcoholic during your childhood. You are uh, difficult to accept client come to you with alcoholic problem. Why? Earlier you have one experience with your alcoholic father. So that's why you are not accepting. This is right? No, it is absolutely wrong. Why? That is your personal experience. Your personal experiences don't put on client. So you accept the client, your personal experiences of the worker, it will come in the situation, but you won't put your personal experiences on the client. Here you accept the drug addiction client, alcoholic addiction client. So in this case, the social worker should not be influenced by his childhood experience of being abused by his alcoholic father, whom he hated and rejected, or indifference towards the client. The social worker's father experience and the client don't put his personal experience on the client. So here, as a social worker, you accept the clients. Yes. Now, principle of confidentiality. It means that professional should not share personal details about the client with others. Here, you remember, social worker don't disclose personal details of about the client with others. That is confidentiality, principle of confidentiality. Social worker must not disclose the client's information such as their identity, their discussion with professional opinions about clients or records. For example, client come to you and share with his problem and his identity with you. Why? You are the social worker, you can solve his problem. So that's why he open up and he share his all problems and his secret information, his identity, his merits and demerits in plus minus what he has done earlier. Share with social worker. Why? Client feel social worker may solve his either drug addiction problem or alcoholic problem or marital problem, whatever the problem. Share with the social worker. If the social worker, for example, one couple come to social worker, they share their family problems, wife and husband share with their problems with social worker, how to solve the problem and how to overcome their marital disturbances. They explain their entire personal information, wife and husband. If social worker reveal wife and husband's identity and personal problems and their personal information to the others, it is not allowed. It is not acceptable. So, as a social worker, don't disclose at the particular situation. So, social worker don't disclose, should not share personal details of the couples to the others. This principle provides a strong base for effective use of social work prevention. It helps in building a strong worker-client relationship. If you are a social worker, I share my personal history and I share my identity I share my all my merits and demerits with you. Why you are the social worker? If you reveal my personal experience, personal identity with others, I won't believe you. Why you share my all personal experiences and personal identity of mine, you share with someone. So you'll lose confidentiality and social client lose confidentiality on you. If social worker maintain confidentiality, it helps building the strong worker client relationship. If you maintain good relationship, if client says something about his personal experience, his identity with you, you want to disclose with others, the client build a strong relationship with you. The client should have absolute faith in the worker that the information passed on the worker will kept confidential and will be used only for assessing and working out possible solutions to the client's problem. Some situations, social worker reveal client's information passed or reveal on the worker will be for assessing and working out possible solutions to the client's problem. That is why the worker should assure that client that the confidential information about the client is not revealed to the others to the disadvantage of the client. If failure to maintain confidentiality seriously affect the worker-client relationship. If the social worker failure to maintain confidentiality, it will affect the worker-client relationship. Therefore, the worker has to show discretion while securing and sharing information about the client with others. Information that is needed should only be gathered from the client. Prior consent of the client is to be taken before sharing the information with even those who are concerned about the client. If it is compulsory to share with concerned person, you take, as a social worker, you take permission, prior consent or permission from the client. For example, HIV AIDS positive client case, social worker share client's history with his wife and his family members. Why we will share with the family the precautionary measures and share and how to overcome the problem. So here, social worker need to share the client's history with the client's family is compulsory and important in this case. Hello. Any doubts
Hi,
regarding
sir.
and confidentiality?
Yeah, sir, I have one question. I'm sorry,
Yes.
sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, based on principle of confidentiality, like how I understood it is that to me as a social worker, I have to be confidentiality. That means a person who does not go and tell other what the client said to him or what he made mention to him. So, sir, when I found, is it possible when I get clean to ask him that to tell me the truth? They tell me the truth information about himself. And when I found that he is not taking true, that is, he is all the information that he give to me or he said to me are false. So how can I deal with that, Clint?
For example, I have one problem. I am suffering with one psychological problem. I am coming to you and I will share my problem. I will share with you my problem and why the problem is increasing. What is the causes? What is the reasons of the problem? I know. I will explain. I will share with you truly. If I won't share with you, how I can expect solutions from you. You are the social worker. I am the client. If I am not sharing with you as a social worker, you accept and communicate with me. Slowly, you can get information from my side. When you maintain with relationship with me, you can get information about the client. Here I am the client. If I won't say if I if I won't say exact or true information, I cannot get solution from I cannot get solution. As a social worker, you cannot advise me. You cannot write advice. Yes, Mustafa.
So now I get it, sir. So sir, when my clean uh, 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 provide epic information about him for me, so how can I deal with that clean, or should I leave him free?
Yes, you you must improve your skills and values. Then only you can guide the client. This is only principle. How to maintain confidentiality. Once you complete your course, you can understand how to deal with the individual, how to deal with the client. This is just one principle. You remember these all principles are very important. Wherever you go, in where which one, any specialization, any setting, you remember these principles are fundamental. Okay, Candiro Chema.
Okay, thank you very
Yes,
much.
yes,
Yes,
sir. I just want to clarify a little bit more
yes,
that when you talk to a client, first of all, you try to introduce yourself, and you tell her or he that whatever we can discuss here is confidential, so that he or she can be open to tell you whatever the truth to his problem, so that it can be solved easily. Because if you cannot explain to him nicely or introduce whatever else and start doubting about you, he or she can't be open to you. He can tell you the lies. But as far as I know, social worker, you have to introduce yourself to client. That I'm so be open. Whatever we can discuss here is confidential, so that whatever you can tell us, we can help you like the way you are. Just like if you go to hospital, you can't say that I've got problem of headache, where you have got problem of stomach, then you
Yes.
can't get the right assistance.
Right solution. Yes, yes. Continue. Yes. Everall Miska.
Yeah. Okay. My question is
Yes, please.
on giving consent. Yeah, on giving consent. You said the only, I mean, you can only disclose when you have the prior consent from the client on what to disclose. So my question is that consent should be verbal or written for future purposes, references purposes, that is.
Communication. Communication between client and social worker. You are asking communication. Hello.
On that
Please repeat.
question,
Everall.
it depends with a client you have. Hello?
Yes, yes.
Hello?
Kima.
Yeah,
Yes, yes, please.
I mean that question he have just asked. I mean, it depends with a client you have. Then you can
Yes,
see
yes.
which a medium you can use to communicate each other. If you know that you can talk to him or her, you use language you talk. If it is for science, you use for science. You can't force yourself to talk to someone who can't hear you. No, it's impossible. So each and every time we use a mode of communication depends with the client we have.
Yes, yes. As a social worker,
Okay.
you reach the
Sir,
client. Yes.
sir,
Ilrani
he was
Kalipa.
asking, he was asking on the confidentiality, the consent. When you want to give information to his family about the patient, uh, is it should be written or should be oral? Like the consent is what Emily was asking.
Yes, yes. Please repeat Kalipa. Kalipa. I'm not getting your point. Anyone?
Okay, Emre was asking when you want to give concept consent when you want to get concept, should it be written or oral? When you want to give the information of the client to his family, uh, when you want to give the concept should be written or oral. Is what he
No.
was asking.
With consent of client, it is not compulsory either oral or written. With either oral or written consent by the client. Then after that, share his or her with family. In some cases, we share the client's information with experts. For example, in HIV case, we as a social worker, we share with the client's psychological problem with the doctor also. And previous client, previous counselor or previous share with previous doctor also. Experience share the experience with previous doctor and the family members also.
Okay, sir. Okay,
Okay.
my understanding about the principles is it all like based on establishing the good relationship with a client?
Yes, communication. Yes. Once without communication with client, you cannot get the information from the client. So you communication between client and social worker is very important principle. Mustafa.
So
Okay. Principle of self-determination. This principle emphasizes the client's right to self-determination. Every individual has the right to assess what is good for him or her and decide the ways and means to realize it. In principle of self-determination, we will give some options to the client, but you give.
Bosha, mute your mic, please.
The principle of self-determination. This principle emphasizes the client's right to self-determination. Every individual has the right to assess what is good for him and decide wise ways and means to realize it. In other words, it points out that social worker should not impose decisions or solutions on the client simply because the client has come to him for help. That is, social worker should not form opinions about the client, good or bad, worthy or unworthy. For example, drug addicted client come to you. Drug addicted client come to you. You cannot you cannot you cannot decide is the right person or wrong character. Every individual has the right to assess what is good for him and her and decide the ways and means to realize it. In other words, it points out that the social worker should not impose the decisions or solutions on the client because the client has come to him for help. The social worker should support and guide the client to develop insight into his social situation in the correct perspective and encourage and involve him to take decisions that are good and acceptable to him. When a social worker convinces a client to limit alcohol consumption to cultural, festive, and important events, although the social worker would prefer that alcohol consumption would stop completely. For example, alcohol addicted client come to you for counseling. The client know what he and about his condition. The social worker should support and guide the client to develop insights into his social situation in the correct perspective. So here social worker explain the client the social situation in the correct way and encourage and involve him to take decisions that are good and acceptable to him. First, social worker explain the consequences of alcoholic addiction. If addicted client will take more alcohol, what is the consequence? If he will take more alcohol, it will damage the client's health. It will damage client's health. It will impact on client's family, client's children's education, client's family social status also damaged. So here, social worker guide the client to develop insights into social situation in the correct way and encourage and involve him to take decisions. Then how to overcome the problem? If alcoholic addiction When he de-addicted, how his family will grow and his children education will continue smoothly when he de-addicted. So here, social worker should support and guide the client to develop insights, situation in the correct perspective and encourage. For example, when a social worker convinces the alcoholic addicted client, every day the client is taking liquor. Instead of social worker give some suggestion like it is not compulsory. Social worker would prefer that alcohol consumption limit alcohol consumption to cultural festivals time and important events. Then remaining time you avoid the alcohol addiction. You will give some insight to the client. The next accept principle of non-judgmental attitude. This is also very important one. The principle of non-judgmental attitude means that social workers don't judge others as a good or bad, worthy or unworthy, dignified or undignified. If you see someone, if you see alcoholic addicted client or drug addicted client or criminal or child labor or gunda or killer or thief, as a social worker, don't judge your client good or bad, worthy or unworthy. Your client, for example, client is not doing anything, so he is not fit for work. You don't judge is the worthy or unworthy. As a social worker, you don't judge the client is dignified or undignified. The principle of non-judgmental attitude assumes that the social worker should begin the professional relationship without any bias. This principle assumes that social worker should begin the professional relationship without any bias. If you give any symbol, if any identity, for example, you are the killer, you give some symbol to the client, how the client interact with you. So absolutely, we won't give any symbol, any identity, any specification to the client, either good or bad, or worthy or unworthy, or criminal or the killer, or you don't give. You should begin the professional relationship with the client without any bias. That is, social worker should not form opinions about the client, good or bad, worthy or unworthy. Social worker don't blame the client for being incapable of solving his problems. Neither the worker blames him for being the cause of a particular problem. First one, social worker don't judge and don't form opinion about the clients. The second one, social worker don't blame the client for the being incapable. The client suffering with suicidal symptoms or suicidal attempts come to you. He himself solve his problem. So that's why the client come to you. How to overcome the societal, how to overcome the societal attempts, how to overcome the particular problem. He is incapable. So that's why he is coming to you and share with you. So here, social worker don't blame the client for being incapable of solving his problems. For example, marital disturbances with wife and husband. Husband come to social worker and share with his problem with the social worker. The client every day beating his wife. Every day after taking liquor, he is beating his wife. He is not overcome this problem. He is beating his wife every day. He himself overcome his problem. He met the client, he met the social worker and share with his problem. If social worker blame the client for the incapable of solving his problem, it is absolutely wrong. He himself is not answer, he himself not solve his problem. So that's why he's coming to you for counseling for how to solve his problem. Neither the worker blames him for being the cause of particular problem. So why the person beating his wife every day? Because of the you don't focus incapable of solving his problem, just you focus why the person is beating. Just you find out the cause, find out the reason of particular problem. Why the person is beating his wife? Only because of the reason. Once you find out the reason, then you can solve his problem as a social worker. However, it is to be noted that non-judgmental attitude does not mean not making professional judgments about the problem situation and the various options being considered in order to tackle the problem. A non-judgmental attitude does not mean not making professional judgments about the problem and the various options being considered in order to tackle the problem. For example, in case of risk, turn off your microphone. For example,
Abdullahi, mute your mic. Abdullahi. Abdullahi, mute your mic.
for example, as a social worker, we in the case of a rescued girl from human trafficking or any other incident, we rescue a rescued girl. Social worker should not judge the girl in the basis of past profession and present health, and social worker leave her prejudice. Don't ask about rescued girls and present health, and social worker leave her prejudice. You don't ask about personal previous past profession of the rescued girl, and you don't ask present health situation of the girl. Principle of controlled emotional involvement. The principle of controlled emotional involvement guards the social worker from either getting too personally involved in the client's predicament or being too objective. As a social worker, you don't uh, involve emotionally with the client's problem. You control, as a social worker, you control emotional involvements with the client's problem or clients being to be objective. The worker may start sympathizing by or indulging in the client's life, and this may interface with the client's right to self determination and independence. Therefore, the social worker should maintain a reasonable emotional distance even while sympathizing with the client. Therefore, here he should indicate the understanding of the predicament of the client without showing pity or appearing indifferent. For example, one child abandonment client, you take one child abandonment case, taking some counseling session with a child abandonment case. As a social worker, once heard about the child, about his past history, how he is the child's father was died, how the child, client or child mother was died, how client was abandoned, what is the reasons, what about his grandparents, what is his past experience. Once you heard about the client's history, you don't emotionally involvement with the client's problem. The worker may start sympathizing by or indulging in the client's life, and this may interfere with the client's right to self-determination and interdependence. One problem will rise. One is if you overly emotionally involvement client problems, you cannot guide your client. Why? If he is crying when he disclose with his history, you can also client as a you can also cry as a social worker. Who will solve his client's problem? Why? You are overly sympathizing with the client's problem. You are overly involvement in the client's problem as a social worker. And one more problem will also rise. If you overly involvement in the client's problem, you cannot give chance to the client to take self-determination. There is no choice to take. Client is own decision. And the client cannot take decision independently. Why? Your influence on the client. Why? You are emotionally sympathizing involvement with the client's problem. So as a social worker, we need to avoid emotional involvement with the client problems. Means we maintain principle of controlled emotional involvement. You don't involve emotionally with the client problem. Any doubts regarding this? Hello.
Hello, hello.
Yes. Principle of controlled emotional involvement, principle of non-judgmental attitude, principle of self-determination. Any doubts regarding non-judgmental attitude, controlled emotional involvement, self-determination?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
I think you should come again on the principle of self-determination.
Yes, tell me what you are.
I did not fully understand on the meaning of self-determination, so you should come again.
Okay. The principle of self-determination means here the principle emphasizes focus the client's right to self-determination. We, as a social worker, we give chance to the take decision on his own problem. You don't take chance to decision on the client's problem. We give some chance to the client's right to take his own decision, which what is good for him and what is bad for him. We will give a chance to the client. Why? Every individual has the right to assess what is good and bad and what is good for him and decide the ways and means to realize it. In other words, it points out that the social worker should not impose decisions or solutions on the client simply because the client has come to him for help. I am coming to you. I am suffering with some psychological problem. You give a chance to me how to overcome the problem. Just you guide me, but you don't take a decision. You give a chance to me how to overcome the problem. You give a chance to me take decisions for my problem. I'm as a client. Coming to you as a social worker. You don't take don't take decision. You don't impose the decisions or solutions on me. If you have one idea about my problem, but I know I have some good, what is good and bad for me. So here, as a social worker, give chance to the client, take his decision. The social worker should support and guide the client to develop insights into his social situation in the correct perspective and encourage and involve him to take decisions that are good and acceptable to him. Here, social worker don't take decisions, just should support and guide the client to develop insights into him social situation in the correct perspective and encourage. When a social worker convinces a client to limit alcohol consumption to cultural festivities and important events, although the social worker would prefer that alcohol consumption would stop completely. Here we can say one alcohol addicted client is there. The social worker gives some opinion, but client can take a decision. We cannot stop. We will we support him. We should support and guide the client to develop how to overcome the problem. But we cannot uh, say this is a right and this is a wrong. We will give chance to him. Then he can take the decision. We'll give chance to him. So that is called self-determination.
Thank you, sir. Good morning. Good evening. Please, sir,
Yes.
can you re-explain the principle of individualization, please? I missed that.
Okay. Yes, principle
Thank
of.
you.
Okay. Principle of individualization means that every client is a unique for the worker. As we know that the client is a person, we accept the client with all his or her strengths and weaknesses. As we know that the client is a person with a problem in his or life. Client is a person with particular religious beliefs, economic positions, social status, and particular. So here all people are unique and possess distinctive capabilities. When social workers declare client's individuality, they recognize and appreciate their unique qualities and individual differences. They treat client as a person with rights and needs rather than as objects. Here you should always consider that each client is unique and different from other clients having a similar problem, as each person responds and reacts to the same stimuli differently and gets into or gets out different problem situation in different ways. For example, in individualization, child labor problem is there. Students are not going to they are working in hazardous industries. Child labor problem is child labor. You have 10 cases for the student suffering the problem child labor problem. One in the one case, student is not because of his family problem. The another case, the client is not going to school because of there is no school in his locality area. And another case, there is no proper guidance of the client. So here problem is the same, but based on the case to case, the unique separate problem. So child labor is problem, but why? Because of different reasons, they are not going to school. They are stuck in they are child labor.
Hello.
Yes,
Hi, sir.
yes,
Hello, sir.
yes,
Sir, sir, regarding to the self-determination, you
yes,
made mention that it only concern with as a social worker, don't take decision, and the
No, we will
just
we'll give chance to the
you
client.
are uh, you
You don't.
are only as a social worker, you are only to support and guide, and don't say this is good over to the claim, and let him to choose what he. So, sir, when that clean asks me as a social worker to choose one for him, so is it possible for me to choose him, or should I just let him to choose by himself?
No, no, no. We will give chance to client. They will take decision. Yes, Rashida. Hello. Hello, Rashidat. Okay. Any more doubts?
There are
Mustafa.
there are someone who asks for you, sir, go to the principle of non-judgmental. So can I say something based on my own understanding about it?
Hello.
Sir,
Please repeat your.
there is someone who asks you to go to the principle of non-judgmental. Then I
Yes.
say that should I say something about it, or I just wanna leave you to
Yes, yes.
direct
Share
him?
your experience, please.
Okay, okay. On my own understanding about principle of non-judgmental is that it merely concern with don't judge a clean. Uh, Maybe he is good or bad, or worthy or unworthy. On that, only my own experience about it.
Okay. Rashidata Olanika. A self-determination here, you simply remember that you give chance to the client take decisions for him or her. You give chance to the client to take decisions about his situation, about his problem.
Thank
Rashida,
you, sir.
here, please, please share. If you have any doubts, please free to ask.
Thank
Give
you, sir. I've gotten
simply,
it.
simply, if you are the social worker, I am the client. I am suffering with some psychological problem. I am coming to you. You give some chance to how to overcome the problem. You give chance to me. uh, take decision on the particular problem and psychological the particular problem what exactly I am facing. You give chance to me as a social worker. Otherwise, if you take decision on about my problem, I'm not able to digest. I'm not able to implement. Why? Because I know about me. If you give uh, decision, if you take decision about my problem, I'm not adjust. So, as a social worker, you give uh, chance to take decision on my problem. That is called self-determination. Principle of self-determination. Give chance to think about myself. Okay.
Right.
Thank you so much, sir. Point taken.
And thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you very much, sir. And today lecture is very, very interested, sir. Thank you.
All of you remember these principles. For example, you interact with community. You can also apply these principles. You go anywhere, everywhere. You apply these principles. For example, you go in the community, you apply the principle acceptance. First, you visit one uh, nearby community. First, you accept the community people. If you won't accept, they are not looking smart. For example, you are the looking smart as a social worker. Where you go, the community people are not looking smart. If you won't accept, how you will work with the particular community? Yes.
Sir,
We
working
cannot act, we
in
cannot.
the
Yes, please.
working in the organization or in the some group.
Wherever you go, you practice all these principles. Based on the situation, based on the condition, we will apply these principles. Dance Felica. Felicia.
Good
Yes,
morning,
please.
sir. Please,
Good
can you
morning.
go over the principle of non-judgmental?
In non-judgmental attitude, you don't judge. If I'm, for example, I am criminal. I am your client. I am coming to you. You don't judge me. I am a criminal. Why I will involve that criminal incident? There is different reasons why I am being criminal. Why involve that criminal case? If you judge, I am the criminal. That is wrong. As a social worker, you don't judge me. That is called non-judgmental attitude. If you judge me, I am criminal. How you will work with me, and how you will uh, uh, get the information about me, and how you will solve my problem. So, as a social worker, you don't judge your client. You are the social worker. I am the client. Felica. Hello. Okay. Any more?
Understand it now. Thank you. Hello, sir. Thank you. Thank you
Yes.
now.
Yes. Yes. Any more?
Sir, you talk about we may apply this principle to our community. So, but you never complete it. You never complete the information
No,
that
no,
you
no,
are
no.
trying.
No, for example, Mustafa, I will go some community as a social worker, work with them. As a social worker, you are from some rich background or you are highly educated. Where you will go, the community is uh, very poor background. As a social worker, you remember your principle of acceptance. You accept the the particular community, the particular locality people. If you won't accept, how you will work with them? So, as a social worker, you apply your principle of acceptance. For example, you are from one religion, the community people another religion. For you are not interested on another community or another religion. But as a social worker, you remember, you accept the religion people. Why? If you want to work with them, you first accept the religion. As a social worker, we respect all religion, irrespective of the race, religion, caste, creed. We accept everyone. So, in the particular context, you apply principle of acceptance. Got my point?
Thank you very, very much, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Any doubts? Any doubts? Okay, today I'm concluding this session. Today we learn goals of social work and principles of social work. These principles are very important. We will next tomorrow, not after 2 days, we'll next session on our session on 20th. We'll discuss approaches and values of social work. If you have any doubts and if you have any queries regarding this BSW-121, first you inform me one day before. I will interact with you on the specific topic. Monday you share with me, and Tuesday I will come with some suitable examples and come with suitable examples and come with some suitable content. Okay.
Sir.
Yes.
Sir, regarding to the last principle, that is a principle of control, emotional involvement. So, to me, as a social worker, when I get the information from my client, so can I cry to show him that I was so emotional on his problem?
Oh, for example, Mustafa is a social worker. I am the client. I am suffering with one problem. I am coming to you. I explain my whole story. I am crying. When I explain my story, you are also crying. Who will give the answer? Who will solve my problem? You and me both are crying.
That means
So,
all of you
as a
are
social
clients.
worker, you don't involve emotionally. So, you maintain some controlled emotional involvement. If you cry, Rashidata is there. She is the counselor. I am the client. If say something about me, she start crying. So we will answer my question. We will answer my problem.
No.
So you
No,
don't
sir. No, sir.
emotional involvement with client. So these all principles are very, very important. You remember, and just you remember with suitable examples I explained you. Okay. Thank you. Please on your videos. All of you on your videos.
Hello. Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye bye. God bless Nigeria. God bless India. Namaste.
God
Bye.
bless you.
Thank you.
God bless you, sir.
Bye. Thank you.
Nice
God
meeting
bless
you.
you. We love
Have a
you.
nice day. Nice day.
Sir,
Yeah, man.
today
Bye.
lecture is very, very interesting.
Sir,
We enjoy it.
hello, sir,
Hello.
sir,
Ale Mustafa, kai wajen wuya ne wallahi.
sir.
You interact more. Our session will goes very
Okay.
go
Eh,
interact very.
Abdulsalam kai
If
wajen
you
wuya ne.
interact more, our
Abdulsalam,
session is
ina son
going very
Abdulsalam, ina
smoothly and
son mu
very
taɓa malam ne.
uh,
Sir,
informatively. If
sir,
you won't interact with me, there is no output. Yes, you interact more, you will get more.
Yes, sir. One suggestion, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, I will teach
Hello.
you how you talk
Thank you
in
very much,
our
sir.
Hausa language.
Hello,
One suggestion,
See
sir.
please.
you, see
Sir,
you tomorrow, sir.
That's
Okay,
Chalve.
see you
is
Monday.
there is there a
Chalve,
way you
Chalve.
can share? Is there a way you can
We
share your
we need you
PowerPoint?
to.
Please, one by one. Chalve. First you speak.
I'm saying, is there a way you can share your PowerPoint? Because I've noticed it's
Yes,
different
yes.
from the one we have.
Yes, I can.
We are kind of
Yes, I will.
asking for it.
Yes, I will share to your regional director. They will share with you.
All right, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Namaste,
Okay.
sir.
Namaste.
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 Jahar Nigera.
Wato inda rabana wato singam kenan. Ka dawo
Okay.
singam
Bye
jamuya.
bye.
Bye bye, sir. Bye bye.
Bye.
Yawa.
We will miss you.
Eh. Kai, wannan aji na ba akwai daɗi ya karɓa kallon. Allah muna